Happy Halloween, everybody. 2013. Halloween 2013. Are you afraid? You should be. This, straight out today from the Center for Disease Control. Landmark Center for Disease Control report details the threat of post-antibiotic era. I quote, "The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released its landmark report today on the rising and lethal threat of antibiotic resistance, titled Antibiotic Resistance Threats in the United States 2013. The report describes a complex problem and the steps that must be taken to prevent catastrophic consequences." Let me say that again. Catastrophic consequences. You know what a catastrophe is? Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Andrew, an asteroid slamming into the earth and wiping out the dinosaurs. These things are catastrophic. In it, experts describe, I continue to quote, what happens when the microbes can outsmart our best antibiotics. We see this as a landmark report. In writing it, we set out to paint the big picture of antimicrobial resistance, said Steve Solomon, MD, director of the Center for Disease Control's Office of Microbial Resistance. Often discussions of antimicrobial resistance suggest resistance is a problem of other people in other places. This report clearly shows that antimicrobial resistance is happening here in the United States, says Dr. Frieden, Tom Frieden, MD, MPH, who was one of the authors. The CDC describes an infectious disease landscape in which 2 million people in the U.S. are sickened annually with antibiotic-resistant infections. The report estimates that at least 23,000 people a year die from antibiotic-resistant infections. 23,000 people a year die. That's going to push the numbers of dead from MD-directed treatments over 800,000 a year. The report estimates that at a minimum, 250,000 illnesses and 14,000 deaths from Clostridium difficile infection all by itself, C. diff, are directly related to antibiotic use and resistance. That's just one microbe. In the report, bacteria are prioritized into one of three categories: urgent, serious, and concerning. Urgent threats include CRE, carbapenem-resistant Enterobacteriaceae, drug-resistant gonorrhea, and C. diff. CRE can now resist virtually all antibiotics, and a growing percentage of the organisms that cause gonorrhea are resistant to even the last line of medications currently available. Serious threats include MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA, and non-typhoidal salmonella infections. Dr. Frieden explained that although progress has been made in controlling MRSA infections, there are still 80,000 serious MRSA infections each year in the United States. The concerning category includes Group A Streptococcus, often referred to as the flesh-eating bacteria, brought to you by MD-directed medicine. The CDC estimates that half of antibiotic use is unnecessary. I talked about this. I'm continuing, end quote. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we outlined the fact that nearly 73% of doctors surveyed treat bronchitis with antibiotics, and bronchitis is not caused by a bacterial infection, which means your medical doctor is an idiot, your medical doctor is dangerous, and your medical doctor continues to be a member of a group of physicians who took the Hippocratic Oath, vowing not to harm humanity, and have fallen completely flat on their faces. For goodness sake, if they had any honor, they would fall on their swords, but they're too cowardly to do this. The CDC estimates, I continue to quote from this article, the CDC estimates that half of antibiotic use is unnecessary. Stewardship programs should be developed and used to optimize the use of antibiotics. You mean you need to train the MDs better? Although this is currently happening, I continue to quote, the CDC calls for acceleration in the implementation of these efforts. Yeah, I would agree, but this is not the only place where it's a trouble. We frequently have people calling in from the United Kingdom and the European Union. This from Reuters Health Information Services. Antibiotic resistance is catastrophic. Now in the United Kingdom, it's official. London, Reuters, March 11th. Antibiotic resistance poses a catastrophic threat to medicine and could mean patients having minor surgery risk dying from infections that can no longer be treated, Britain's top health official said on Monday. This was back in March. Sally Davies, the chief medical officer for England, said global action is needed. Global action is needed to fight antibiotic or antimicrobial resistance and fill a drug discovery void by researching and developing new medicines to treat emerging mutating infections. Antimicrobial resistance poses a catastrophic threat. If we don't act now, any one of us could go into hospital in the next 20 years for minor surgery, you know, like you have a wart cut off, and die because of an ordinary infection that can't be treated by antibiotics. And if you have a more serious surgery, like a hip replacement surgery or organ transplant, they could turn deadly because of the risk of infection. Now, end quote. Now, look, so what they're finally recognizing is that their therapeutics, their misguided therapeutics, set in motion a whole course of unintended consequences, set in motion an entire a domino effect of unintended consequences. But rather than revisit their strategy of killing the bug, rather than revisit the strategy of killing the bug, which is what caused all of this stuff to happen in the first place, their answer is develop more drugs to kill the bugs, develop better drugs to kill the stronger bugs. Well, what do you think is going to happen when you do that? The bugs are going to develop resistance to the stronger drugs. But this is the insanity of the MD. This is the insanity of the pharmacologist. This is the insanity of the pharmaceutical industry, for-profit, monopolistic, Machiavellian, dunderheaded pharmaceutical industry. By the way, everybody forgets the simple fact that when microbes were first discovered by Louis Pasteur, looking through Leeuwenhoek's microscope, when Louis Pasteur first discovered that there were little bugs and you could actually kill them with different substances, and if you killed them, your health was better, there was a raging debate between Louis Pasteur and a Frenchman named Beauchamp. Beauchamp argued that it was the terrain of the body, the environment of the body, that let the bug grow or not. It wasn't the bug. It was the environment of the body in which the bug found a suitable home. Pasteur said, no, 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 it's got nothing to do with the environment of the body, with the terrain of the body. It's got everything to do with the bug. And when you're up against bug stress, the best thing to do is develop a pesticide to kill the bug in the body. Beauchamp said, no, no, no. The best thing to do is make the body so healthy that the bug can't grow. There was a raging debate. Guess who won? Well, Louis Pasteur won because it set in motion the entire pharmaceutical monopolistic. You think the oil companies make money? Well, they do, but they've got nothing on the pharmaceutical industry. Unbelievable amounts of money are generated by the pharmaceutical industry every year. Unbelievable amounts of money. I'd like to have 1/10 of 1/100th of 1% every week. You kidding me? It's massive amounts of money, gargantuan amounts of money, jaw-dropping amounts of money, and it's money that feeds the whole thing. And while we've let the MDs run away with the ball, while we've given the MDs complete monopolistic control over the entire shebang of medicine, they've delivered therapeutics, developed and delivered therapeutics, the intention of which was to kill the bug and pay no attention whatsoever to the terrain of the body. By the way, on Louis Pasteur's deathbed, he recanted his position that it was the bug and said the terrain is everything. I quote, the terrain is everything, end quote. Louis Pasteur recanted, But the pharmaceutical industry did not. They took that ball and ran with it, and now here we are 100 years later, dying because of their incompetence, dying because of their short-sightedness, suffering because they are unwilling to admit, number one, that they were wrong, and number two, to entertain any concept whatsoever of a different way to go. Oh, we just need more drugs. We need more designer drugs. We need stronger antibiotics. We need a whole new classification of genetic stuff. That's what we need to do. We need to develop silicon livers. That's what we need to do. We need to develop synthetic blood. Oh, yeah, that's the secret, synthetic blood. Whatever. It's nonsense. And yet this is what the MDs with clear consciences are rolling out. Now, these people actually think that they're doing good, and this is why they're so flippin' dangerous, because they are unable to see their own short-sightedness. They are unable to conceptually realize that their way is wrong. They are intellectually cowardly and intellectually, morally short-sighted. They are completely driven by, they're like colorblind art critics who don't know that they're colorblind, and they're more than willing to criticize the art, and they get it wrong all the time. And we are up against it. It's getting real now, folks. I mean, it's getting real. MD-directed therapeutics, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, the leading cause of death in the United States. 12 women a day in the United States die from reactions to prescription medication pain medicines that they've become addicted to and abuse. Where'd they get the prescription medicines, or on the black market? No, from their MD. Now there's a whole host of antibiotic-resistant infections happening. Don't go to the flippin' hospital. Do not go to the hospital. Stay away from the flippin' hospital. Learn how to do surgery on yourself, for goodness sake. I don't know what the solution here is, but part of the solution is going to be fire your MD, because they have nothing for us, even in the domain in which they excel, the trauma care and surgery when it's necessary. Their short-sightedness is going to kill us. And I'm the quack. Ladies and gentlemen, fire your medical doctor now. Kicking it with the commander when we come back. Stick around. Stupid is as stupid does. Fitting this report should be released today, Halloween 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting bad with a capital B. And let's talk about it with someone who sees it firsthand every day. The commander is in the house. Check him out on Facebook at Wellness Warriors. Wellness Warriors on Facebook. Commander, welcome back. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, Dr. Glidden, how are you?
Very, very good. Good to see you, man. So what's your take on antibiotic-resistant bacteria as seen from the front lines?
Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands. How much?
Twice, and then wear your bioactive suit. There's stuff I deal with that there's no antibiotics for.
How much of this are you seeing? Well, first of all, for those of us who are new to the listening audience, let us know, how long have you been in the back of the ambulance keeping people alive on the way to the emergency room? How many years have you been doing this?
Transport-wise, about 12 years. 12
years. Now, in the last 12 years, what's your experience been with observing the appearance of antibiotic-resistant infections?
Nuclear holocaust.
So it's getting worse. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
You know, here's the thing. I've been a nurse 26 years. I've been in the field over 30. And back in the early 90s, we had this big deal with people that have AIDS, okay? And I used to take care of a lot of them in the ER because I had a bioweapon specialty in the military. So they said, oh, he knows about bioweapons, you know, and biological agents, and he knows about decon and, you know, protection and that. So we had a hospice for AIDS patients that was pretty close by, and they'd come in all dehydrated and things like that, but we don't see that much anymore. And these people are with these acquired immune deficiencies. These are people at the end point of their immune systems that are in the toilet, and they can't defend themselves. So what we're seeing right now, I think, and I think you might agree with me is that people's immune systems are in the front. They're always on the cusp of something because they're either getting a sore throat or a cold or a bad belly bug. A lot of belly bugs going around now, and they just give you something to calm down your bowels, or they give you an antibiotic, and they send you on your way. They never try to build you up. They always try to break you down more. And that's where I see a lot of the issues. And then the people in the nursing homes and the assisted care places, don't go there. Again, we know that $10 billion is spent on people for hospital-acquired infections every year, if you live in the world of statistics. So it's very taxing. And then every time I go on a call, it's like, well, they're on for isolation. Well, I just treat everybody like that now. And it's, it's come to be a norm. It's come to be a norm. Why are you wearing glasses? Why are you wearing that gown, because we don't want to get sprayed with any body fluids, knowing full well that, most people in the healthcare field should know to boost their immune system by using good nutrition and stay away from the bad foods. I mean, it's out of the planet, man.
Yeah, it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it seems to be that there's only a handful of us that are recognizing it. It's like, I'm searching my brain here for a metaphor, but I guess back in the day, in the 1700s, before the Revolutionary War, there was something in the air that a handful of people could feel, and they knew that stuff was coming. They knew that there was a change afoot. They could feel something coming. Well, ladies and gentlemen, at Longevity Nation, it's coming. What's happening here is social. I don't think there's going to be social unrest. I don't think people are going to take it to the streets. But what is going to happen is, unless you are aligning yourself with science-based, clinically verified, holistic methods of health recovery, you're going to die. And your kids are going to die, and your parents are going to die, and everybody in your family is going to die. But before you die, you're going to suffer with a flesh-eating bacteria that's going to chew up half of the skin of your body. Oh, that's a pleasant way to live out the last 5 years of your life. It's a big, bad voodoo daddy. Ladies and gentlemen, take the red pill, snap out of the matrix, wake up, take the 90 essential nutrients every day, appropriate for body weight. Take selenium every day, appropriate for body weight. Eliminate the 10 bad foods and stay the heck away from a medical doctor. For goodness sake. When all else fails, abandon ship. The ship is sinking, and Obamacare is going to torpedo a hole in the hull. Talking more with the commander when we come back, folks. Stick around. I am Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Halloween. Be very, very afraid. Back after these messages. Welcome back to our Halloween show 2013. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. Please check the website out, Fire Your MD Now. You get it? FireYourMDNow.com. Click on the Join Longevity with Team Glidden button. Click on the Become an Insider button and join the revolution, or, get left by the wayside and suffer and die and go bankrupt. It's that simple. Having our guest this afternoon is the Commander, Mark Denning, RN, a.k.a. the Commander, the President, Founder, CEO, and Maximus of Facebook. Check it out on Wellness Warriors with a Z. So what's the chatter been like in Facebook lately, Commander?
How about animal bites?
Animal bites, really?
Yeah, I had a bad cat bite. And I'll tell you what, the Warriors are about 1,100 strong right now. And when they come in with all the ammunition they've been given through longevity, and, the Warriors site has just been as a think tank. And that's why I started it. So people would go to get reliable information. Those guys are getting smarter all the time. All the time. But yeah, they had a bad cat fight. And we're looking for an update right now. Also, always digestive issues. Always, 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 always. Because we all know it starts in the gut most of the time, the majority of the time.
Well, that's an interesting thing to talk about. In naturopathic school, one of the maxims that naturopathic holistic physicians are taught is, when in doubt, treat the liver, number one, and number two, you are what you eat. And in order to maximize and optimize your health, you have to attend to the digestive tract. Now, this is an interesting thing. And I don't know whether this was just a coincidental conflagration of events born through stupidity and happenstance, or whether this was actually a conspiracy on purpose. But the leading selling drug in the world right now is Prilosec. The leading selling drug is antacids. Prilosec is one amongst the chief. Yeah. These are proton pump inhibitors, the intention of which is to completely eliminate the stomach's ability to produce hydrochloric acid. So if you eliminate the stomach's ability to digest food, then what happens is you get undigested food traveling from the stomach into the intestinal tract. The intestinal tract doesn't have the ability to pull nutrients out of the food because it's been destroyed by decades of wheat, barley, rye, and oats, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, brought to you by Monsanto and General Mills. So it's like the 1-2 punch. People eat whole grains all of the time thinking that they're healthy. The whole grain destroys the intestinal milieu. And then when you take a proton pump inhibitor, you really screw up your body's ability to digest food. So now, even if you eat 100% organic, really good stuff, because you've messed your stomach up with antacids and you've messed your small intestine up with gluten, the only thing you're able to pull out of your food is calories. You can't get any vitamins, any minerals, any amino acids, any essential fatty acids, which accelerates the genesis of chronic disease. Now, some people think this was just a happenstance, that the pharmaceutical industry, that the MDs weren't smart enough to orchestrate something like this. But I don't know, Commander. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. What do you think is going on?
Oh, my God. You open a can of wormage that are like cobras. But, yeah, it's just like every famous person is endorsing this Prilosec thing. And it's just, oh, my gosh. It's like I heard an article the other day, or we were talking, and Nikki's like Mrs. Commander's like a big advocate of the Commander, what he's doing, of course, what longevity does. And did you hear about these teenage kids? Not only are they taking the parents' painkillers now that are in the medicine cabinets, but they're also putting them in their pockets and they're selling them in school. I'm like, well, geez, the pharmaceutical guys are making even more money now, and the users are getting kickbacks in a way. So it's potentially, let's get more. But, like you say, people don't know what they're doing to themselves. And I think we should get an Orkin truck and say we're just not for insects anymore and do it for, bacteria. But,
well, it's fascinating. Stupid is as stupid does, and when you monopolize the medical marketplace, this is when catastrophes happen, because there's nobody there driving the bus that has any conceptual understanding of what's really going on. And, it's like exactly what happened to the Roman Empire, right? The rise and then the fall of the Roman Empire. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And even though there were millions of Romans around at the time that the Roman Empire fell, because of the way that the power was divvied out inside of the Roman Empire, the millions of ordinary citizens could do nothing to stem the tide of the overt corruption that was driving the bus of the Roman Empire, and that's why it failed. It wasn't because it got too big to succeed. It was because of the monopolistic manner in which it was constructed. And that is exactly the same thing that's happening today in medicine all around the world, not just in the United States. It's on steroids in the United States, but it's happening all around the world. So what this is going to mean is, because of the incompetence of the MD, because of the short-sightedness of the MD, because of the MD's unbelievable Machiavellian understanding of the way that the medical marketplace is set up, and because of their insistence in developing bug-killing drugs and not looking at any of the consequences thereof, we're going to suffer and we're going to die. And for goodness sake, Commander, when's it going to end? What do you think? When's it going to end?
I think it's going to end. This is going to come to a head like a big pimple really, 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 really soon. And I just pray that, and you and I both pray that something's going to wake up. Some revelation or something's going to happen where it'll just dawn on the world that, oh my goodness, we screwed up. We need to change. Sorry. Let's look for something different. And hopefully you and I and all the warriors and everybody on your team, Glidden, just inspires and motivates enough people to see what's going on, just to take the rose-colored glasses off and see what the heck's going on, dial it in, and go from there.
Yeah, well, I hope so. That's why Longevity exists. That's why Longevity Nation exists, and that's what makes us get up in the morning and enroll, baby, enroll. Yeah, enroll.
It's like the longer the diagnosis, it's like the easier combination of longevity products it is to take care of business.
Well, that's another interesting thing to talk about, and that's one of the beauties of the holistic method. One of these days, ladies and gentlemen, it's either going to be on purpose or by default because everybody else is dead, or because our movement, creates the 100th monkey phenomenon where everybody all of a sudden understands what's going on. One way or the other, by hook or by crook, it's only a matter of time until the truth will out. Get on the bus now. Recover your health. Recover your wealth. Check him out on Wellness Warriors, the Commander, Mark Denning. Mark, it is always a pleasure. Keep up the good fight, buddy, and be well moving forward.
Right back at you, Dr. Glidden. You be well.
All right, buddy.
We all are well.
I'll talk to you in the future.
Taking time out today, buddy.
Thanks. Anytime, Commander. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. The Commander, check him out on Facebook at Wellness Warriors. Let's go to the phones right now and get her done. Let's talk to Rick in North Carolina about a thyroid problem. Hey, Rick, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Thanks for taking my call. I've got a friend of mine, Jennifer. She's got about 7 different things that she's wanting to overcome. One of them is Bell palsy. She has leaky gut, low thyroid, insulin-resistant, shot adrenals, and iodine deficiency. And 20 years ago, she was also in the early stages of osteoporosis.
Great. I mean, modern American medicine, in full bloom. What do you think of all this, man? I mean, doesn't this just make you feel warm and fuzzy about American medicine?
Well, I was thinking just when you were doing that intro, I think a lot of people are not listening to the doctors, was it Fire MD now, because they've either been maimed or lost their limbs or they're on life support, or they've been killed by the hands of their doctors.
Well, it's a remarkable phenomenon, really, and this is, psyops on steroids, I think. I can't think of any other reason besides some type of on-purpose psychological, cultural conditioning that's been going on for 100 years. I just don't understand how people can continue to support and promote medical profession that's the leading cause of bankruptcy, the leading cause of death, and that's, hurting people, and that for 100 years has failed to come up with solutions for simple health concerns. I mean, the MDs can't even cure heartburn. They can't, but we'll give them $1 trillion to come up with a cure for cancer. Oh, yeah, that's great. Can't cure heartburn, though. And you're right. People, for some reason, continue to walk off the edge of the cliff. For goodness sake, they'll run off the edge of the cliff into the gaping maw of the pharmaceutical industry and Machiavellian MD-directed medicine. I just don't get it. And I'm wondering when the breaking point will come. When will the breaking point come? When will the 100th monkey phenomenon happen? And all of a sudden, everybody wakes up and they understand, son of a gun, there is a better way here. Really, that's one of the only things that keeps me motivated in the face of such massive amounts of manipulation and social suffering. It is the belief, my firm belief, that the truth will out. And eventually it's going to be sooner rather than later. Hopefully it'll happen in our lifetime. Hopefully it'll happen within the next 20 years. But, you know, all we can do, Rick, moving forward is help one person at a time until our message just, you know, populates and all of a sudden everybody wakes up. And so I appreciate your call and I appreciate your concern for those in your life. So when we're attempting a lot of stuff here, like the commander was alluding to, it's ironic, but often the more problems that somebody has, the easier it is to help them get back on track with their life, because in the holistic vantage point, everything connects. So the recommendation here to support and promote the structure and function of this woman's body would be 1 anti-aging healthy start pack and 2 bottles of selenium and 1 bottle of Ocean's Gold. 1 anti-aging healthy start pack, 2 selenium, 1 bottle of Ocean's Gold, and 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And once you've got that dialed in, add to it 1 extra bottle of the white liquid calcium, either the Cal Toddy, the Beyond OsteoFX liquid, or the Beyond OsteoFX powder. Of course, she must eliminate all of the 10 bad foods from her diet and have her take at least 1 ounce of the white liquid calcium in 1 or 2 ounces of orange juice or water immediately before bed. And then have her call me back on the radio in 4 weeks, have her tell me her progress, and we'll tweak the program, take it to the next level. Rick, you're the greatest. Keep up the good work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Halloween. Are you scared yet? You should be. We're going to Texas when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here, finishing out the first hour on Halloween 2013. Let's go to Texas and talk to Alicia, see what she's up to. Hey, Alicia, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
How can I help?
Yes. Thank you for taking my call again this week. I'm calling about a lady here who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2009. And they did go in and do mastectomy. They removed her breasts. She did not require any chemo or radiation. They didn't do any chemo or radiation, but consequently put her on a drug called tamoxifen. So she has to stay on that drug for 5 years.
Well, she doesn't have to do anything, but that's what they recommend she does, yeah.
Around the same time, she developed, having never had any issues with allergies, she developed some allergy-related issues, which she's been taking medications for, allergy shots, and along those same lines came some reoccurring sinus infections, times about 4 years now. It causes her to have some severe shortness of breath, almost like she can't breathe at all. And 2 years ago, their treatment for her was to stretch her trachea, to stretch it out. And she tells me at that time, it seemed like all of those issues resolved. She didn't have any problems breathing. And then here, just about, I guess it was April or May of this year, she started having some similar symptoms following a sinus infection that she had, a pretty bad one. And they have gone in, and now they did a scope, and she has a flap of skin, they say, that's actually blocking part of her airway that they're planning to remove in November. So I'm just trying to get she's actually been on product now for 2 months. She's been on the anti-aging Healthy Start Pack. She's been on selenium with history of cancer. And I'm just trying to figure out maybe what are some other things that we can do for her, and maybe what this flap of skin would be caused from that's blocking her airway.
The flap of skin undoubtedly was caused by the stretching procedure that the MDs did. Undoubtedly, that's what caused it. They went in and they screwed something up. And, you know, when someone's esophagus was it an airway that they stretched or her throat?
No, she said that they stretched her trachea right before it separates. Yeah,
all right. So, you know, really, the trachea, of course, is made from cartilage. So in order to support and promote the structure and function of cartilage anywhere in the body, ligaments or tendons, the recommendation would be as a nice little add-on here, the glucogel. It never, ever, ever is a bad idea to give extra plant-derived minerals. And we've got 3 ways to do that. Either the plant-derived mineral liquid, the Cherry Mints, which is the plant-derived mineral liquid with cherry flavor added, or the plant-derived minerals in a capsule form. It's basically the plant-derived minerals that have been freeze-dried and put into a capsule. So that would be an interesting thing to add on, but the glucogel is a good thing to give her here. You know, notwithstanding the MD's recommendations, there's a big difference here between the holistic method and the reductionistic method. And if it were me, the recommendation would be that she just completely stops going to the MDs for these conditions, because the best possible thing that they have for her is, well, nothing. You know, you don't get breast cancer because you have a breast. You get breast cancer because there's been a facultative breakdown in your immune system and an egregious lack of nutrition. You know, if there was an epidemic of hand psoriasis in the United States and the 300 million Americans had hand psoriasis, one cure for that would be to cut the hands off. Well, certain types of breast cancer, if you get it before they metastasize, the cells are specific to the breast. So you hack the breasts off and you eliminate the problem, but you didn't eliminate the problem that caused the cancer cells to be formed in the first place. It's only a matter of time before something else in the body breaks somewhere else. So I would counsel her that the holistic method is really the best method here. I'd buy her a copy of my book. You can get it for $10, download it to your Kindle. I would educate her about the concept of holistic medicine. The best way to do that, I think, is with the book and the webinars and the educational stuff that we bring to the table. Notwithstanding that, the best thing that she can do, Alicia, is eliminate the 10 bad foods, increase her or add the glucogel into the program, and maybe a few more plant minerals. But I think her stumbling block or her biggest problem is in the education arena, and that's where I would focus on. Educate, 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 and that's how we're going to change the world. Thanks for the phone call, Alicia. You're the greatest. Folks, hour number 2 coming up. Stick around.